Welcome back to the deep dive. We're jumping straight into it today.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're looking at the crypto market in mid-May 2025. It was, well, quite a time.
Definitely an action-packed period.
We've gone through a load of recent articles, reports, looking at market moves, regulations, some pretty surprising asset stuff, too. And our mission today is basically to unpack all that, figure out what drove the big surge, pull out the key details, the maybe unexpected bits so you can get a clear picture fast.
It's a great snapshot, you know?
Yeah.
You see how everything connects the big economic picture, rules changing, and then what happens with specific coins.
Things move so quickly.
Incredibly fast.
So speaking of speed and big moves, the absolute headline from that time has to be Bitcoin hitting a new all-time high.
Absolutely. That was the main event. The data we looked at showed Bitcoin pushing past $111,000.
Wow.
Specifically noted as Thursday, May 22nd. And like to put that into context, that's a jump of about 47% from its low in April.
April's low was around $74,500, wasn't it?
Exactly. So nearly 50% up in what, just over a month?
Yeah.
That's a pretty remarkable kind of move.
Remarkable is putting it mildly. So what did the sources say was driving that? What was pushing it up so hard?
It seemed like a few things lining up, really. Reports mentioned more favorable regulatory developments, which always helps sentiment, you know.
Less uncertainty.
Right. And alongside that, global trade tensions were apparently easing up a bit, which also fed into that positive feeling for investors.
Okay, so a better macro mood?
Yeah. And then there's the institutional side. That interest just kept building. The data showed over $4 billion flowing into Bitcoin ETFs.
Just in May.
In May alone, yeah. So that's significant sustained buying pressure right there.
And I saw another metric mentioned, Bitcoin option open interest hitting a record. That points to strong sentiment too, right?
Exactly. High open interest generally means traders have conviction. They're placing bets on future prices. And the report said they were targeting around $116,000.
And the analyst predictions were even higher, weren't they?
Oh, yeah. Some were talking $125,000 short term, maybe even $137,000 by the end of May.
Wow.
And looking further out, you saw targets like $150,000, even $180,000 by the end of the year being floated.
It's also interesting how resilient it seemed. There was that dip. May 17th, Moody's downgraded U.S. credit.
Right, that hit traditional markets.
Yeah, but Bitcoin apparently bounced back really fast.
It did, recovered very quickly.
Plus, there was that other bit of news that probably helped the general vibe Coinbase getting into the S&P 500.
Reported on May 12th, another step into the mainstream finance world.
So the all-time high confirmation on May 22nd, CoinGecko had it around $109,665. That really sealed the deal on that run.
Yeah, so the big picture for Bitcoin then was just strong momentum, supported by macro factors, regulatory easing, and those crucial ETF flows.
Okay, so Bitcoin's having this incredible run, but what about the rest of the market? Does everything just follow Bitcoin up?
Well, that's where it gets interesting. Because while Bitcoin was grabbing headlines, the reports showed Bitcoin dominance actually dipped a bit.
Ah, so its share of the total market cap went down.
Exactly, which often suggests, as confidence grows, some money starts moving out of Bitcoin and into altcoins, people looking for potentially bigger percentage gains there.
And we saw a really specific, almost extreme example of that, didn't we, with XRP and Korean investors?
That was a standout data point for sure. On Upbit, the Korean exchange, XRP's daily trading volume went over $1 billion.
$1 billion for XRP.
Over 1.4 trillion Korean won. And get this, on one particular day, the volume for XRP alone on Upbit was higher than the combined volume for Bitcoin and Ethereum on that same exchange.
That is wild. Just focused buying. What was behind that specific surge? I thought Korean investors had been selling previously.
Yeah, the analysis linked it straight to news about Ripple and the SEC. They apparently submitted a proposed $50 million settlement agreement.
Ah, okay. Potential resolution in sight.
Seems like it. That news, plus the broader easing of U.S.-China trade tensions we talked about, seemed to just flip the switch, reverse the trend, brought buyers rushing back in.
So a localized frenzy, basically.
Pretty much. But beyond just XRP, the sources did say that general mood for altcoins improved in mid-May. Trading volumes up, network activity increasing for major alts, especially Ethereum.
You're right. Ethereum had its own thing going on, too, the Pectra upgrade.
Yes, Pectra. That went live around May 7th, and it apparently helped fuel Ethereum's price surge, liquidated some shorts.
What was the key change there?
A big technical one was the staking limit increase. Per node, it went from 32 ETH way up to 2048 ETH.
Okay, why is that significant?
Well, the thinking highlighted in the reports was that This could make it easier for staking rewards to potentially be part of future ETH ETFs.
Ah, making it more attractive for institutions.
Exactly. Big potential development there. And it tied into Vitalik Buterin's longer-term vision that was mentioned, again, simpler structure for Ethereum, aiming for like 100x throughput in 5 years.
So definite signs of life and progress in the altcoin space. But there was a counterpoint too, wasn't there? Not everyone saw a full-blown alt season.
That's right. A Kaiko report offered a bit more caution. They suggested this cycle might be different, that maybe the market structure would stay more Bitcoin-focused.
So maybe not the same kind of altcoin explosion as in past cycles?
Possibly. That was their take. But they did also acknowledge that institutional interest is broadening beyond Bitcoin. They specifically mentioned firms like GSR getting involved with assets like Solana. So it's maybe more selective.
Interesting. And then, just to throw another curveball in, the meme coin sector even got a look in. Something about an official Trump coin.
Yeah, the Trump meme coin apparently had a big slice of the meme coin trading volume for a bit there.
Which leads us to maybe the strangest story from the sources in this period.
This one was definitely unique, a direct link between crypto and a political event.
So this Trump meme coin, people were buying it to get invited to a dinner hosted by Donald Trump.
That's what the report's detailed. It sounds extraordinary, but investors apparently bought around $148 million worth of this coin.
$148 million.
Yeah, specifically to try and be among the top holders who'd get invited to this dinner in D.C. on May 22nd.
So owning the coin was literally the entry ticket.
Effectively, yes.
Yeah.
The criteria, according to the reports, was being in the top 220 holders, based on how much you held and for how long, between late April and mid-May.
And the top holders got special treatment.
Top 25 got VIP access, apparently. The reports even gave examples. The top wallet, called SEN, linked to Justin Sun and HTX, held about $18.5 million worth.
Wow. And even the cutoff.
The 220th wallet held around $59,000 worth, just to get that invite.
And this coin wasn't even that old, launched January 2025.
Correct. And its price history was described as volatile, shot up to $75, crashed to $7.50, was trading around $13 during this mid-May period, market cap around $2.7 billion.
And a huge chunk held by an affiliate group.
Yeah, reports said about 80% of the supply.
It's just a really bizarre example from the source material of how crypto ownership can intersect with real-world events and access. We're just, relaying what the sources described here.
Absolutely. It just highlights the sheer range of influences in this market. It's not just tech and finance anymore.
Okay, so let's pivot to the outlook. What were the sources saying about where things might go after this mid-May period?
Well, there were, as usual, different perspectives. Bitfinex's analysis suggested Bitcoin's foundation looked strong, the macro environment was supportive, so any dips would probably get bought up pretty fast.
Okay, so bullish short to medium term view there.
Yeah. And then analyst Michael van de Poppe saw the altcoin surge, potentially signaling a shift in market structure. He noted how quickly alt rallies can happen and mentioned the yuan rebounding as a helpful macro factor, too.
But there was a more cautious take as well.
There was. Analyst Benjamin Cowan offered a warning. He said, look, if Bitcoin doesn't decisively break its old high by summer, and if things get rocky in August, September,
which they sometimes do.
Right, then Ethereum could potentially retest lower levels. And he pointed to the Alteth ratio hitting what's historically been a cycle high, suggesting maybe a pullback for alts was possible as money potentially rotates again.
So different signals, different interpretations. The sources seem to be saying, be prepared for various outcomes.
Exactly. It underlines why understanding all these different factors is so crucial. You've got institutional money, tech upgrades, retail sentiment, macro trends, and now, apparently, political dinner invitations linked to meme coins.
It really is a market influenced by just about everything imaginable, which kind of leads us to a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. In this market shaped by global economics, regulation, specific coin news, retail frenzies, and even these weird intersections with politics and meme coins, what factors do you think will actually have the biggest impact on where things go next?